What is up? It's your boy Johnny Street 5 BB Promos with Tell Like It Is. Welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Uncut. Today, guys, we're going to talk about cheat meals and refeeds.
That's how it happens.
Cheat meals and refeeds. The difference, when you should implement them, when should you use them at all? Some questions you need to ask yourself that I'm going to help you answer today. Now, let me give you this straight off the bat. This is, my opinion comes from science and researching, applying these to actual clients. And then again, it's just my opinion on the matter. So just hear me out and let me go through this and let you guys have a better understanding of refeeds and cheat meals, because there's a lot of misunderstanding about the matter. I feel like this is very misunderstood. So let's just go through it right off the bat. So what is a cheat meal? So some notes here. Cheat meal is a meal, it's a pre-planned meal that includes, foods that you're probably not eating, regularly. You're looking at foods, like a cheat meal is looking at like foods that you're not eating in your regular diet on a day-to-day, right? The goal for your cheat meal is basically just to satisfy you, just to give you a break, a mental break from maybe dieting too hard or maybe dieting plain. It's just something to kind of let your brain go. It could be a cheat meal or a cheat day. There's your definition in terms of so we can kind of agree on what a cheat meal is. Now, there's between a cheat meal and a refeed. Refeeds, again, are going to be something that you are going to just increase the overall amount of carbohydrates more so, and maybe some fats that you're eating regularly, right? It's there to basically help replenish the glycogen stores from, being in a deficit for too long, more so like bodybuilders, people in, extreme diets, or, in maybe a crash diet or something, just because they want to get, ready for something very quick, or, maybe it's a bodybuilding show, but they're at a point in prep where their fat levels are so low that it's starting to affect their overall performance, sleep, etc. Maybe their body weight has stalled, and then we just basically increase the overall calories within maybe a meal or so in one day. And then those calories basically giving you a little more pep in your step. Basically, the whole point of doing a refeed would be this is the trick behind it, basically. You're eating in a deficit for so long, your metabolism starts to slow down. It will 100%. Your body's not just going to continue to just burn calories because you say you're going to decrease the amount of food or increase the amount of exercise you're going to do without giving it more food. So basically it gets to the point where it's starting to get tired. So when you start off your prep or your diet, when you're doing your cardio, you're burning more calories, or your wattage is higher because you have a little more pep in your step. You have more energy. You're walking a little more taller, a little more prouder, right? But then as we go and weeks go along, you're starting to kind of wither down a little bit. Your overall non-exercise activity thermogenesis starts to decrease. So you're not burning fat at the rate you would have before at the beginning of prep, because your overall energy is down. Your stride length, just walking, is shortened because it takes more energy to walk, to have a longer stride or whatnot, right? So basically your refeed is basically to kind of give you a little bit of fuel, that it kind of makes your body think oh, we got all this fuel now, let's ramp it up, and it gives you a little more energy the next day. It might last you a couple days, that energy, right? Your body responds to that, and then all of a sudden, boom, you drop again, and then you end up losing more fat. That's what that's used for, right? So you have, on one hand, you have cheat meals, are basically something that's just there to help you mentally have a break from what you're doing, right? And then a refeed is more so something that is going to help, aid your fat loss or continue your fat loss. It's just, basically a refeed is just to help you continue your fat loss by increasing the overall amount of calories in the form of, say, carbs, giving you that much more energy to be able to burn more calories in those days where your body's holding on to that energy, right? And then it drops. Now, who do I give these to? Now, here's the pros and cons. We gotta talk about this, okay? So, pros and cons for cheat meals, right? Obviously, it's gonna provide you a psychological, psychological relief. You're gonna feel so much better. Oh my god, I've been eating chicken broccoli and rice all week, and I've been eating hardly any calories, and I'm starving. And all of a sudden you're like, yay, today I get to eat everything. Ice cream. You're eating one of those stupid, rock cheat meals because you think that's what you need, right? It's going to give you that feeling of that instant gratification of food. Oh, finally, I'm replenished when it comes to satiety, and I'm replenished in terms of my overall hunger. It allows the individual to indulge in their favorite foods. Obviously, the plus of that is I get to eat whatever I want. Yay, I get to eat whatever. Today, all week I suffered. This week, today I get to eat bullshit. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, it does help boost your metabolism, temporarily, right? The only cons about that is the term behind cheat meals and when I'm looking at it, right? I don't like using the word cheat meal to begin with, right? If you're gonna do a cheat meal, you're gonna just have what you want meal. So I'm gonna call it a cheat meal because right again, you have like this negative connotation behind a cheat meal. And then you schedule this cheat meal and obviously if you just eat whatever the heck you want, you eat too much, all of a sudden now you're guilting yourself. There's that psychological, dip after that dopamine release is just drops after you're just full and you're like, what did I do? I just can't just ate all that. My whole week has been ruined because I decided to eat all these calories. And then that's spiraling into basically derailing off of your, from your plan, right? You're doing great all week. You're down 2 pounds. You're starting to see some change. All of a sudden, today's the cheat meal, and you eat everything in the world. You finish that. You feel like full and uncomfortable. And you're like, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe shame on me. What did I do this for? And you're like, well, while I'm already here, I might as well just continue anyway, and just blew it. Ugh. It gives you a very unhealthy relationship with food. We don't have relationships with food. And we gotta remember that, right? We have a relationship with ourselves and how we can control ourselves, how much self-control we have. The food is not alive. We don't date food. Food's not our friend. It is there for us for fuel, for micronutrients, for all the things our body needs food for. So emotionally, it's almost like, drug use. You get this crazy dopamine release of just, oh, I feel good. And then you get this terrible crash after, and that's it. That's the problem when it comes to cheat meals. Calling it a cheat, and then all the things that come after that. So my advice when it comes to having a cheat meal is don't call it cheat meals anymore, right? If this is the way that helps you kind of have a mental break from your diet during the week, I recommend that you just own up to whatever meal that you want and you schedule the meal and the actual amount. If you've made the mistake to overeat, this is what you can do this time. You're like, I can't believe you ate that many things last time. This time, I'm only gonna have this. So for me, if I'm gonna have a cheat meal, right? If I'm gonna have a me meal, I just call it like I want a meal. I'm not gonna call it anything. I'm gonna have what I want. I'm gonna own it, and usually it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a whole thing of Oreos. I'm gonna put that in a whole thing of Ben and Jerry's half baked, and that is my thing, right? That's it. And I own it, I eat it, I love it, and I put it down, I'm good to go, right? But if I don't put a cap on that, and I'm like, and I decide, hey, today it's gonna be one of those green days, and we're watching some movies, and I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have I'm gonna buy 4 things of Oreos and 4 things of Ben and Jerry's, then I might end up falling into that. So what you wanna do is you wanna plan. You want like a moderate, you want an amount that you've planned for that is reasonable to have, and you own it. Okay, so when it comes to refeeds, okay, because we have to talk about the pros and cons of refeeds as well too, because we can't just be like, cheat meals are terrible and refeeds are the best thing in the whole wide world, right? They can be useful and they can absolutely be useless. Let me tell you first off by this: the people who are getting refeeds are those who are dieting really hard for something, or maybe a bodybuilding show or maybe a photo shoot. And we're trying to just increase the overall calories to help give them a little boost within that, within that deficit. The only people that get those refeeds are ones who are visually seeing extreme fat loss. If you are 15% body fat, you do not need a refeed. If you're dieting and you're 15% body fat, whatever it looks like, right? I am 15% body fat. I don't need a refeed for anything, right? If I'm 10%, I don't need a refeed. I think under like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, you start to probably need refeeds, because it's when you implement the refeeds is when it's getting harder for you to lose fat at a lower body fat. Like if you're having a hard time losing fat at a higher body fat, we just need more discipline. We can talk about that later, right? And it sounds harsh, but that's the gist of it, right? So for those of you who are like, should I have a refeed? And I'm cutting right now, and should I have a refeed? Well, if you look yourself in the mirror and you don't have visible definition of any sort, you do not need a refeed. You need to look like you're about to go on, like close to going on stage before even thinking about having a refeed. Anyway, so look at the pros and cons for refeeds. Pros and cons of refeeds, basically this, it helps replenish the glycogen storage. This is exactly what we're trying to do. Obviously, we're trying to give you more energy to increase the overall non-exercise thermogenesis and the total daily energy expended. We're trying to increase that by giving you more energy in the form of carbohydrates, help replenish those glycogen stores to get a better pump in the gym, more energy, etc. Right? This is gonna also aid your overall performance. So if you're sluggish and you got to go into the gym and you've been on this diet forever and you're inside out peeled, and you got a big back day today, and you're like, man, there's no way, like you're just feeling right. Having a refeed and having those extra calories kind of carry over to those days, it gives you more energy. Planning those refeeds around, not planning refeeds around the days you're going to train hard, but it might give you that much more energy for those next days. Say you have a refeed on Saturday, and you're training on Monday. You might have some extra energy on Monday to help, with that hard leg day or whatever. It's going to give you more energy. It's going to give you more aid to your overall athletic performance. And then it will aid, in the end, again, what we're trying to do with the refeed is to help us push us past those fat loss plateaus. That's what we're trying to do with this, right? So in the end, we're trying to increase the overall calories in terms of like carbohydrates when you're in a deficit to give you more energy, replace the glycogen stores to help with athletic performance, to increase your overall energy to be able to burn more calories, right? And then again, it's going to help us get past those weight loss plateaus. Now, the cons for this, the cons I think with refeeds is that refeeds can turn into cheat meals real quick, right? If we're not smart about it, if we don't plan those things properly, and planning in advance, or like that day, planning them out properly with your coach or whoever, or even yourself, they might turn into the refeed. They might turn into the cheat meal. That refeed that was planned out, all of a sudden now, because you hate, when you eat more calories, regardless of a cheat meal or a refeed, your blood sugar is going to spike a little bit, and you're going to be like, whoa, I'm hungry even more, because your body's like, oh wow, we've been in a deficit for so long, and your body's like, maybe like, hey, we're starving right now. Let's not turn on our ghrelin for a while. Let's make sure leptin is high as possible. And you're sitting there like, and it's hard to stop if you are not careful. So that's an issue when it comes to refeeds. It might cause some digestive issues, right? If you're overindulging in, your foods when it comes to refeeds, some people make the mistake of increasing the overall carbs, but they increase those sometimes in fibers. Like I remember like before when I have like a refeed or whatever like that, I would sometimes like have like, protein, cookies or, protein bars, which doesn't make any sense, right? But again, I made that mistake. And my stomach is ravaging. I'm eating things that don't mix well with my stomach, so digestion slows down a bit and kind of like, messes things up a little bit. And if not done properly, again, it's going to do the opposite of what I'm trying to do in terms of like breaking those weight loss plateaus, right? If I consume foods in the refeed of carbohydrates that my body's not used to eating, I can disrupt my digestion, which will make it that much harder for me to, get past those weight loss plateaus. Because when you're looking at overall, refeeds, you want the refeed is there to help your stomach continue to run optimally. If you're having a refeed and you're, normally the carbohydrates you're eating are like, say like your grainy carbs, whatever, you're eating like say rice and sweet potatoes, maybe you're having pasta, right? And then all of a sudden, that's all you're eating. And then you decide to do a refeed on bread. You might just not digest that properly. You might say, I'm gonna use chips instead, because it's the same thing as my, as sweet potatoes or potatoes, the starches, right? And you try to do that, and then it doesn't, agree with the stomach, and all of a sudden you're like, shit, there's, figuratively speaking, or maybe even relatively speaking, or realistically speaking, probably will be shit. Either way, we don't want the stomach digestive system to be all in a whack, because that's gonna really play against you and your body's ability to burn more calories or burn more fat, because it's paying more attention to fixing the cluster F mess that's going on in your stomach. And again, when it comes to, and this is like very, very small, it definitely can, it can be, it may not be suitable for individuals with certain health conditions such as diabetes. So like, obviously when it comes to those specific, ailments and whatnot, we have to pay attention to. Yeah, refeeds might not be the best thing. They're not for everybody. They should be strategic when it comes down to it, right? So that's the difference when it comes to refeeds and cheat meals. When I'm just gonna kind of finish off like this. If you're having cheat meals, go right ahead. I suggest not calling them cheat meals. Have a me meal. Call it something else. Have a meal where you like, I'm gonna own it meal. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna have what I want to have, and you're gonna plan out what you want to have, whatever it is. find a reasonable amount that you want to indulge in where you're not going to feel guilty after, and then get right back to your shit the next day. And when it comes to refeeds, the same thing. But you're only going to do a refeed, and people should be only doing refeeds if they actually need them on their way down to a body fat that's not necessarily sustainable or even healthy for that matter. And you just need that refeed to help push you past that sticking point, right? You know, again, consult a coach, maybe even me, I don't know, whatever. But do your due diligence, work hard. I'm gonna leave you this too. If you mess up, if you F up and you have a refeed or a cheat meal and you overeat both and you're like, I blew it, own it. Just say, you know what? I ate more. I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna sleep as much as I can. Tomorrow, I'm gonna have the best, whatever the next day training is. I'm gonna have the strongest day ever. I'm gonna increase my intensity because I'm gonna have some excess calories and some water in my body that's gonna help me push a little harder. Own it. Don't guilt yourself in it. You're gonna make a mistake, okay? So don't think everybody's perfect. But when you do make the mistake, own it, and then do something positive the next day as well too. Anyway, guys, hope that clarified things for you. And if you guys have any questions or have, had any experiences with refeeds or cheat meals, let me know in the comment section below. And guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. Become what the tell it is, transparent, vulnerable truth. And for coaching, johnashu.com. If you want to know more about my coaching, guys, book yourself a 15 or 30-minute consult. And in the consult, I knock it off any package that you pick. And hit the description below for those discount codes or promo codes that save life or change life for the better, like Johnny10 for 10% off BlueStarNutraceuticals.com. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Send me your progress pics, your training pics, and your video clips, and I'll repost it for you because you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace. Man, I can't wait till that ebook gets out. It's gonna be a dope ebook. Cannot wait.